To the city dwellers, it is part of the dead heart of Australia, the harsh country with no redeeming features. To the romantic, it is the last frontier, the outpost of civilization, the land of pioneers to be pitied as well as admired. But to the people who live here, it is their own country, to be loved and hated with an intimate understanding, a land of promise and frustration, but allowing an independence and demanding a self-reliance which compensates for everything. It has a magnetic effect upon those who want more out of life than humdrum security and the tidy rules of a comfortable suburbia. Many Australians I have met in the United Kingdom and in Australia since I have been here have spoken to me with unstinted admiration of you men, women and children who have made your homes in the bush. They have told me of your fortitude, your courage, your humour and your friendliness, and of the magnificent way in which you have overcome the problems of living in this region of vast distances and great loneliness. Now that I have met some of you and seen from the air something of the immense and challenging country in which you live, I know that they were right.
The royal visit to Coffs Harbour. Her Most Excellent Majesty Elizabeth II, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of other realms and territories, Queen, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith, together with Prince Philip and Princess Anne, enters the land of the Big Banana.
Have you come here to register a protest against the Queen's visit?
Oh, definitely not. No, indeed.
I heard there was going to be a big protest at Coffs Harbour.
Well, I'm certainly not one of them. I've come all the way from Byron Bay with my family to see her, and this is the 4th time I've come to see her.
You're a loyal supporter, are you?
Indeed I am. I wouldn't be here otherwise.
For days, local Boy Scouts and members of the CMF have been practicing the art of royal car door opening. Their hour of glory is at hand. The man from the Department of Supply puts them through their last paces.
Right.
A big, warm welcome as the royal tour continues. The Queen and the Duke return today to Dubbo in central West New South Wales for the first time in 38 years.
Newcastle is a traditional royal stopover. It's the 3rd time the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh have visited, and this morning there was a waterborne welcome.
We've seen the Queen come out on the balcony after she paraded around, come out on the balcony at the Golden Hotel and waved, and as we were moving away, we walked up the street a bit, and I seen Kathleen there, and I said to the fellow that I was with, that's the girl I'm going to marry.
And then that much anticipated stroll among the faithful.
Many regions in Australia have, alas, been significantly neglected in a variety of ways, and I take the view that many of them feel that they are lost and a little lonely, and I think it would be a refreshment to them to see Her Majesty and give them new heart, a new sense of purpose.
It was all rather pleasant and dreamy in Bourke today, an extraordinary couple of hours, in some ways hard to fathom, but for Rita Whitbread, hard to forget.
How was it? Oh, it was just so exciting. I'm still all flutter.
Is this the most famous day in Bourke's history, do you think?
Yeah. Yes, I'd have to say it is.
How did the Prime Minister's visit compare?
No, it was nothing like this.
The Queen came and she was down on the river edge, but we looked down the bank towards her. And that's where I first saw her, and that's what started my collection of all this memorabilia. Everywhere I've been, they've said, oh, look at all you've got over there, now she's gone. It's time in my life that I have to start dealing with getting rid of it.
When Queen Elizabeth made her first visit to Australia in 1954, eager crowds lined the streets of Adelaide to catch a glimpse of a new generation of royalty. The newly crowned monarch spent 8 days in South Australia with her husband Prince Philip, less than a year after her coronation.
Yeah, that was very exciting to meet her. She wasn't all that tall. She was very interested in older people, their stories, and she spoke to them very nicely, and they responded too. So it was quite exciting for them to meet the Queen.
The Aussie sun was beating hot and hard by the time a cool Queen stepped from the plane, and although most of Whyalla's 30-odd thousand people were at work, thousands of their children were at the airport. On the way into town, a fitting welcome from some steel workers.
As we flew from Brisbane to Longreach and then on to Mount Isa, we could see the wide country unrolling beneath us.
The people of Queensland joined me this evening in extending a very warm and sincere welcome.
Coolangatta, south of Brisbane, and it was raining there too. But the rain didn't deter the Queenslanders in the slightest, and they staged a surf carnival for the royal couple.
The Queen has praised Queensland resilience after devastating flooding and Cyclone Yasi.
I have seen the fortitude, ingenuity and determination of the people of Brisbane.
A royal salute of 21 guns marked the royal family's arrival in Port Phillip Bay today. The Britannia passed through the head shortly after 7 this morning to begin its trip up the bay to Melbourne.
Next stop was the textile town of Geelong for a wool auction. At the moment, fleece is fetching record prices, up 50% in the last 6 months.
I'm delighted to be able to pay a short visit to Broome. My husband and I appreciate very much the warm and friendly welcome we have been given by everyone gathered here this morning. The new surge of pioneering activity in the northwest is one of the most interesting and impressive developments in the whole of Australia. And I am very glad to meet some of the people who are bringing a new life to this area.
It was a nostalgic touchdown at Geraldton. 25 years ago, the Queen toured the port, famous for its rock lobsters. Next stop, Kalgoorlie, the old stamping ground of Bourke entertainer Lola Montez. The Queen gave a royal nod to the King of Kalgoorlie, Paddy Hannon, a prospector credited with finding the first nugget in the area. On to the local sports centre, not for a walkabout, but a drive-about, delighting the crowds of children from the Golden Mile.
It is very interesting for us to be able to visit you, because it is developments such as this which are doing so much for Australia's economy. Even more important, it is giving us an insight into the living and working conditions in this less well-known part of Australia. You can certainly feel justly proud of what is being achieved here, and we both give all of you and your children our best wishes for a happy and prosperous future.
A fanfare of trumpets announces the opening of the ceremonial doors of Parliament House by the Queen. The royal party walk through the foyer, which has a geometrical floor design in different coloured marbles and 48 granite and marble-clad columns.
After 87 years of federation, a permanent home has been provided for Parliament, which is both the living expression of that federation and the embodiment of the democratic principles of freedom, equality and justice.
They were. I mean, that was a really big deal in those days. I mean, I just remember him saying that, you know, people lining the streets, even the staff, the whole place, the place took months to get sorted out. All I can remember them saying, it was actually remarkably relaxed, even for that era, because don't forget she was quite young, and it was very more... And I think having had that past association, I think it was quite a relatively free-flowing conversation of ease. I think primarily a lot about farms or horses and their visit. But he said it was, all I remember he saying and my grandmother saying, it was just remarkably easy.
And something that wouldn't happen now.
And something that wouldn't happen now.
Alice Springs, deep in the arid belt, as far from the coast as England is from Greece. Rain falls at the rate of 11 inches a year. Water evaporates at the rate of 100 inches a year. It is arid country. But you'd only ever see the town like this when the Queen comes to the Alice. The temperature was rising. It was already around 100 degrees at midday, just 4 hours before the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh were due to land. Then the Duke and the Queen flew away from the Alice to drop in briefly at Tennant Creek. Tennant Creek is the most important gold and copper mining centre of the Northern Territory.
I'm very sorry to learn that there has been a severe drought for the last few years, which has brought you many hardships and misfortunes. It requires a very special brand of courage and tenacity to face these difficulties, and I'm full of admiration for the way you are sticking it out. I send my warmest good wishes to all of you listening today.
Katherine, 220 miles south of Darwin, is the centre of the cattle industry in the Northern Territory. It has a population of 600, and the temperature in the summer usually runs above the century mark, like most of the places in the inland. The airport was where the people were to see the Queen and the Duke, because again the schedule was tight. Keeping cool while they waited was something of a problem. And then the expectant waiting, the long rides in from the outback were rewarded. By now, the glittering ceremony of Canberra and the great cities of the coast seems as far away as it really is, and it's hard to believe that this is the same country as the one in which the royal couple attended a garden party on the green lawns of Yarralumla.
After this visit, no one will be able to suggest to me that Central Australia is a dead heart. From now on, I shall always look upon it as a living heart, beating with confident energy.